They called it the greatest city on earth, and they were not wrong. Babylon, a name that once made kings tremble and merchants weep with envy. A city of walls so thick that chariots raced along their tops. A city watered by the Euphrates, crowned by ziggurats that scraped heaven. Home to 1,000,000 souls who believed, truly believed, that nothing in the world could ever touch them. And on one particular night, they were feasting. King Belshazzar had thrown open the palace doors to 1,000 guests, generals who had never lost a battle, priests who had whispered to gods, nobles wrapped in silk and arrogance. Every surface of the great hall dripped with gold. The air was thick with incense, roasted meat, and the sound of laughter that had forgotten what fear was. Belshazzar was in a generous mood. He called for the sacred vessels, not just any cups, but the golden goblets stolen from the temple in Jerusalem. Holy things. Things that should not be touched by careless hands. He poured wine into them. He raised them to his lips. He drank. And then he raised one high in a toast. To the gods of gold, of silver, of bronze, of iron. The gods his hands had made. The gods that could not see, could not hear, and could not save him. The crowd roared in approval, and the candle flames shuddered. Outside the walls, something extraordinary was happening in complete silence. Cyrus the Great of Persia had been waiting for this night for a long time. Not the night of the feast, he did not know about that. He had been waiting for the night his engineers finished the work, the secret work, the diversion of the Euphrates River. Months of planning, months of digging, months of patience that Babylon never considered possible in an enemy, because Babylon had never really respected its enemies. Tonight, the engineers opened the channels. The great river dropped. The channel beneath Babylon's outer walls became a shallow stream. And then, through the darkness, through the mud, through the river gate left open because who would ever dare to enter that way, came the army. No drums, no battle cries, no fire, just boots, just discipline. Just the quiet certainty of a general who understood something most rulers never learn. The most dangerous moment for any empire is not when it is suffering. It is when it is celebrating. Inside the palace, the feast reached its highest pitch. And then the music stopped. Not because anyone commanded it, not because a guard sounded an alarm. It stopped because every single person in that hall, in the same instant, saw the same thing. A hand. A single human hand, pale, luminous, impossibly calm, appearing from nowhere, moving along the plaster wall, writing, slowly, deliberately, as though it had been waiting all evening for the right moment. The hand wrote 4 words, and then it was gone. Belshazzar's face went the color of old ash. The goblet in his hand shook so badly that wine ran down his wrist. He had conquered fear his entire life by simply refusing to acknowledge it. He had no tool for this moment, no strategy, no army to send against a hand that belonged to no body. He screamed for wise men. He promised wealth, power, the purple robe of authority. Tell me what it means. Tell me what those words mean. Tell me they mean nothing. They could not read it. Then the queen entered the hall. Not his wife, his mother. An older, steadier woman who had survived more dynasties than he had seen. She told him there was a man, a Hebrew, a prophet, whose name was Daniel. A man who had interpreted dreams, a man who spoke with the clarity of someone who borrowed their words from somewhere higher than themselves. Bring him. They brought him. Daniel walked through the panicking court the way a man walks through a room he has seen end before. He looked at the writing on the wall. He turned to the king. He did not want the rewards. He said so plainly. Keep your gold, keep your purple robe. But here is what those words mean. Mene, God has numbered the days of your kingdom. They are finished. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales. You have been found wanting. Upharsin, your kingdom is divided. It is given to the Medes and the Persians. Silence. Not the silence of disbelief, the silence of a room full of people who, in the deepest part of themselves, already knew. Who had always known that a city this arrogant, a king this careless with sacred things, a civilization this drunk on its own permanence, had been building toward a reckoning it could not see because it refused to look. And that same night, while Daniel received a robe he would not need and a title that would belong to a different empire by morning, the Persians moved through the streets of Babylon. By the time the palace guards understood what was happening, the soldiers were already inside the walls. By the time the alarm reached the feast hall, the doors were already open. Belshazzar died that night, in his own palace, surrounded by the remnants of his own feast, with his crown still on his head. The last great king of Babylon ended not on a battlefield, not with a siege, not with months of starvation and slow defeat. He ended at a party. In a single night, one of the most powerful empires in human history changed hands. Not because the Persians were giants, not because Babylon's walls crumbled, but because Babylon stopped paying attention. Because the people inside the walls forgot the one truth that no army, no wealth, no prophecy can replace. No city is eternal. No king is immune. No feast lasts forever. The river flows on. The walls stand empty. The writing is still on the wall. And history does not knock before it enters. Subscribe to Aurum Mind for more.